Hello, everyone. This is Whitney Will from Starhearth Astrology, and I am here today to talk to you about the Capricorn full moon that happens on June 24th. So, in this video, I'm going to be going over the energy surrounding the full moon, what it's connected to in the past, what it's leading towards in the future, how it might be settling in your psyche, and what kind of threads you might want to pull in order to deepen your experience and have some meaning making with this particular time. So thank you for being here and watching. I also have a workshop that goes along with this full moon. So I've been doing workshops or little events on the new moons and the full moons with lunar natives. So what that means is that I will have someone who has that moon natally. So in this case, my friend Maya from Her Darker Materials, I'll link her YouTube channel below. She has a natal Capricorn moon, so she was born while the moon was in Capricorn. And she is going to be providing a workshop for us on our life's work and our sense of our legacy, which can be connected to the sign of Capricorn and especially potent for the moon. So if you'd like to join us, that's going to happen at noon Pacific time on Thursday, the 24th. The timing is a little bit weird. Normally I schedule things in the evening so people can make it to them. Maya lives in the UK, so that's the reason why the timing is funky, but we are going to record it. So if you can't make it to the live session, everyone who purchases the workshop will receive the recording just after it happens. So just wanted to mention that starting out. Now let's get into it. So this is significant because this is the first uneclipsed Capricorn full moon we've had in 3 years. So a year ago, the Capricorn full moon was eclipsed. The year before that, it was eclipsed. And so we haven't had an uneclipsed one since 2018. In one of my classes last night, one of my students asked, what is that? And, how might we experience it? And it's almost like, right, if we've got the muscle memory to expect big things around this, because we've had a couple years of eclipses in the sign of Capricorn, there's almost like, okay, it's a return to a normal thing. It's almost like, right, you start, you're watching a TV show and, right, everything builds to the season finale. So usually the opening episode of the season and the season finale are big. And those are kind of like eclipses, right? The beginnings and the endings are more pronounced while we're kind of back to regular scheduled programming of Capricorn full moons. Another reason why this one stands out to me is that this is a really well supported full moon. So what I mean by that is that Jupiter is in a really strong position, stationed in Pisces right now, and Jupiter will form a trine to the sun that is in Cancer, which is Jupiter's sign of exaltation, and the moon, and Jupiter forms a sextile to the moon. So the moon is opposite the sun, as it is in all full moons, and then Jupiter is in a really supportive aspect to both luminaries, both the sun and the moon. And so while the Capricorn full moon can sometimes be a stressful time and there's lots of work and there's lots of things to get done, and the Capricorn full moon is very Capricorn moon is very goal oriented and very diligent and working very hard and has lots of stamina for that. And so it can be a little bit stressful because we've got kind of the emotional peak of the month that we have with any full moon and then with a Capricorn full moon. But Jupiter is being really supportive. Now, Jupiter can expand things so that it seems like there's lots of work to get done, but the resources are there. And so it's a pretty gentle lunation compared to the last four-ish few months. The Taurus new moon on May 11th was was pretty kind. But we're just coming off of a month of eclipses. So another thing that this full moon does is that it shuts down eclipse season. So with this full moon, we are fully out of eclipse season. And so that just means that things can kind of settle a bit. So again, we've got this kind of return to normally scheduled programming with this full moon. A way to track it in your chart is, if you have your birth chart in front of you, find the house that has Capricorn. I use whole sign houses, so Capricorn is going to be entirely contained in that house. And you can look for 3 degrees of Capricorn, which is where that degree falls. If you have anything right there, it's being aspected, it's coming alive, it's being activated. There's an engagement with whichever archetype is at 3 degrees of Capricorn, or 3 degrees of any of the other cardinal signs as well. So you're looking for 3 degrees of Aries, Libra, or Cancer, or thereabouts. I would go probably 3 to 5 degrees on either side of that to check for some activation. Obviously, there are other aspects. I'm not going to get too in the weeds here, but that's a quick and easy way. Another way to connect with the story of this full moon is to think back to the new moon, the Capricorn new moon that we had. And so that Capricorn new moon happened on January 12th of this year. So we are about 5.5 months past it. We've come to the full moon. And so if you can trace a storyline of things that were beginning January 12th and things that are kind of culminating now, we've put them out into the world. Right? It doesn't mean that they're done. We don't then just abandon them, but we move into the waxing stance. So we've put all the inertia in the thing. We have got the ball rolling, so to speak, and now it rolls. We still have to do things, right? We still have to manage that energy. We still have to tend to where it's going. We still have to maintain it, but we're not in this creative place anymore. So where that's showing up for me personally is I started teaching astrology classes the week before that Capricorn full moon, and I just wrapped up for summer break the 2nd session of my course. So I'm kind of seeing that, I created this course at the beginning of this year, and then at the spring equinox, it transitioned and we kind of got out of just the basics and started working into transit integration seminars, which are basically every other week classes where a small group of us will look at our charts and each other's charts, look at the transits that are happening for the next couple of weeks, and talk about them and talk about how they're showing up. And then the next week we'll kind of go into, we'll review the transits that happened. We'll talk about how they actually showed up for us. And then we'll look at the next week. So I'm going to have more of these, and I think I'm going to open them up to more than just the students of my basic course, my 13 moons lunar intensive course. So stay tuned for those. So there's a lot of, right, at this Capricorn full moon, there's a lot of kind of goal setting, of looking back on how much you've accomplished. Capricorn is very goal oriented and very much an accomplishment. So if you take some time to really notice how far you've come, then that can really help you both feel accomplished and have the energy and the sense of self-worth and the sense of satisfaction that allows you to move onward. And so it can also help you, right, ground yourself in the pivot point of this moment, right? So looking back on how far you've come, and you can, right, take some time to really collect the things that you've learned from that journey. Because, right, when we're in the waxing phase, we are pushing outwards, we're creative, and we're not so reflective on what is happening. And so this Capricorn full moon is a great time to reflect on that, and kind of see where we want to almost like condense and collect and make things more efficient, so that we're working smarter, not harder. And so we went through the first half of working harder. And so now as we move back towards the Capricorn new moon, um, that will happen next January. We're kind of collecting those lessons, figuring out what we've learned, starting to harvest the fruit of our labors at this point. So we have this dreamy week. If you want to hear more about the individual transits, you can check out my Cancer season forecast, because the first week of Cancer season is just a lot. So we're deep in kind of the tidal poles of a lot of water signs and swaying back and forth. We have 3 planets stationing. We have Jupiter, we have Neptune, we have Mercury. And so there's this kind of collective pause. And so again, I think that this Capricorn full moon is a chance to kind of, right, you're at the top of the mountain. So take a breath and look around before you descend back, right? You have accomplished something. And I think, it may not be as crescendoed as we might be used to it, because it's not eclipsed. And we've just come out of eclipse season. And so it's a little bit more of like, I see this full moon really as a time for grounding, coming back to your body, being able to sort through what is important and what isn't. And right, as much as you can, right, like rest on your laurels a little bit this week. This full moon it's not a party moon with Capricorn. But things will get a little bit dicier next week when we have Mars running into an opposition with Saturn and a square with Uranus. Things will get spicier. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for joining me. And hope to see some of you in my Capricorn full moon workshop with Maya. And I hope that whatever you are putting your energy into is nurturing you.